Hi there, this is Greg Kirkpatrick playing back a game October 31st, 2011 from chess.com. Some interesting features that allow you to go back and replay your game using these controls. They're kind of like VCR type controls, fast forward. Who uses a VCR anymore? Well, I did at one time. You can download a PGN file, which allows you to look at your game in different types of programs. You can just load that file. You can flip the board. This allows you to see the game from the perspective of the other player, which is kind of interesting, which is what I did in this particular game. So if you're new to chess, all the columns are marked in notation from white's perspective. So this is A1, A2, A1 is this square. The A column is here. So it goes A, B, C, all the way over to H. H1 here, and then these are numbered up, and this is H8. So when you look at this move and it says E4, that's what I did. A, B, C, D, E4, right to this square. So you can see this knight to F6. That is his move. So there you have it. Notation in a nutshell. Quick and so he's attacking this pawn with his knight. What do I do in response? I protect that pawn with my knight. Knight to C3. Pulls the pawn to E5. And I come out with my bishop, putting some pressure on this square up here. Bishop to C4. Counterplay, he comes back with bishop to C5, putting pressure on this square. All right, so far so good, nothing out of the ordinary. I'll pull my knight to F3, putting some pressure up here. Well, does he protect that pawn? No, not in the fashion that I would have expected at first. He pulls the knight out to G4. Yes, it's protected, but it's also putting a lot of pressure on this square because he's coming down with a bishop, he's coming down with a knight. I'm getting a little worried here, so I castle up. Put some pressure on this square with my rook. He castles in response. I come out with pawn to D3. Why do I do that? I'm protecting this pawn. Then he comes up over here. A little bit murky in my mind why he's moving his king off to the side. I thought this is not what I would expect. This is not developing his pieces. This is something I didn't see what he had up his sleeve. Maybe you saw it right away. I didn't see it. So I come up with my queen to help protect that square. He pulls up with this unexpected move. He's pulling his pawn to F5. Well, if he had done this before, he would have been check with this bishop. So obviously this was already in his game plan. So I pull a pawn out here, creating an escape hatch for the king and attacking the knight. Does he run? No. He pulls a pawn out over here. So I go ahead and take that knight with H takes G4. And F takes G4. Attacking my knight here. So he's down a knight. I want to create an opening over here. So let's basically trade knights. So I take this pawn here. He comes back. So I've got an open column here. And we've traded. And I'm going for a bishop trade here. He takes me up on that by pulling his bishop down here. And queen takes bishop. So he goes ahead and pulls the knight to c6. I pull my knight out to d5. He comes down with a move down to knight to d4. So from this square, this next move of his would basically fork my rook and my queen. We don't want that, so I pull my rook out to protect this square. He pulls his bishop out. I attack the knight with c3. Instead of running back, he attacks with his knight, puts me in check. Knight to f3. So pawn takes f3. Pawn g takes f3. Pawn to d4. And things go downhill fast. Queen to h4. I go ahead and put him in a fork, forking the rook and the bishop, but he's got other things on his mind. Queen moves over here for check. King moves out of the way to h1, and queen moves down here for checkmate. And as you'll notice, this little pound sign on the notation notates mate. This is the check sign. Anyways, hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I have. Greg Kirkpatrick.